Yes, it is.
Hello, everybody. Tamara Childs here with Ruth McCants for your weekly energy update. Uh, how's everybody doing in YouTube land? Today is August the 24th, 2017. And wow, this has been a big week. We got through the solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse. And so we're going to do our weekly energy read and see how everyone's doing because it's been. Now, Ruth, before we started, you had a wonderful description for this. I don't know if pressure cooker was the description, but you were talking about the pressure that we felt right before the eclipse in the couple days before that.
Yes, I was mentioning that with all of there was the cosmic event,
Yeah.
which would eventually, it's like an opening into the portal. But prior to that, it's like each one of us I think we've been asked to take an examination. It started with the full moon, and we've mentioned that before. With the lunar eclipse, it was necessary to take a look at the past. And I think that all of that energy culminating on Monday was literally rising up in our personal consciousness as well as the collective. And it got to a boiling point. I think by Monday, it really was like a pressure cooker. And personally, it was about an hour or so later, the moon went into Virgo, and I could discernibly feel the difference.
Yeah, that nice earth energy. I mean, of course, yes, we're still coasting the Leo solar eclipse energy, and the messages of Leo are really important for each of us. And that's something I'm going to talk about on a couple of upcoming shows, just so we don't miss the gifts that it was bringing. However, I would almost describe it as, and maybe this is partly my Aquarian sun, but some of the pressure was about becoming really aware of where am I not this Leo energy? Where am I not willing to step into this, whatever the Leo message was? Because I feel like there was there's just been a lot of resistance in the air, in the collective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the collective, there's been a lot of resistance. And so, and we're entering this week. Well, actually it's Thursday, our usual time. So what if we had, a couple of the aspects we have today, Ruth, Saturn is just going direct tomorrow, and that's
Mm-hmm.
our workhorse, our work part, and that structured, that discipline, that forward, grounded movement.
And, we still have a bit of energy left in Virgo with Mercury. And so
Yeah.
it's also helping since the sun has gone into Virgo. Mercury is still in Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a grounding. I think it's asking us, we usually talk about the sixth house and health, but it's asking for our overall well-being, to take an inventory. I think that's the real key point, is to take a life inventory, each one of us, because Mercury deals with, of course, communication, but first of all, communication with self.
Mm-hmm.
Before you start communicating with other people. Sit down. This is a great time. You can almost feel the fall energy starting to come in and to kind of bring some of that heat down. Remember that boiling point? It's bringing the heat down. So it's as though we need to each take a moment to sit down really and truly and ask the question, what am I? Who am I? What is it that I am desiring? Because that's the leftover from the Leo. What is my desire?
Well, and I love that you're highlighting the Virgo, because this issue of health, I mean, where the things that we're not processing or haven't yet processed, or the lag time in processing, to me often comes through the body. And so we'll have a body level expression of where that self-care is expressed,
Right.
And since we still have Mercury retrograde, it's still calling us inward to really know what cares for us, how do we take care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? What is the self-care package, the spa package that we have to pay?
I like that,
right
the
now?
spa package,
Yeah.
right? Because with Virgo, it is, everybody always thinks it's about nitpicking, and I guess it is, because sometimes when you are redesigning something, you have to look at particular elements.
Yeah.
But the overall thing is to take a look at, and we're each being called to look at our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much externalization going on. We got a lot of fighting because this one says, I'm right, but no, I'm right. But the truth of the matter is, the only point of focus is with yourself. And if you fail to do that self-examination,
Mm-hmm.
that's when all of the challenges occur. And in the future, that's when things won't be working well in your life. And we often refer to it as a wake-up call. A lot of our wake-up calls happen because we fail to take the time when it's available to do what our own self-work, our own inner work.
Yeah, and just remembering that, and again, Leo eclipse, solar eclipse in Leo, is about the self-expression, the creative, the self, not the others, and not what everybody else thinks. And
That's
so
right.
I think it really is saying, if there have been, because I've had a lot of conversations with people about health issues, about just not feeling well, about feeling tense and anxious, anxiety related things. I've had my own stomach issues and all of that. There is a way that when we forget why we came here and what our life is for and what really makes us feel inspired, because think about it, this is our life is our own real estate for our soul. This is our
Right.
time.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Say that again, that our own real estate for our soul. I love that. That's great.
Our lives are our soul's real estate. And are we going to rent it out to all these opinions and controversy and angst and or feel guilty if we have things okay but somebody else isn't okay? And in fact, I wrote a blog that I have not yet quite published, but it's all about the solar eclipse and how it's this call into our most noble being, and that we're often questioning. Right now we're questioning, well, what is the noble thing? Is it Marie Antoinette, or is there another way for us to step forward and be royal with ourselves, while still having compassion for the world around us, rather than just getting lost in pain and suffering and anxiety?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the blog. I actually wrote one that is published, and it's called the Cosmic Marriage. And I actually looked at the sun and moon coming together, and that part of the moon being in front of the sun is referencing us back to, again, I want to point out, communication, that Mercury, Virgo communication, but the moon, that moved on Monday. It's very interesting that the moon moved into Virgo, and that communication of self and communication with others. But first of all, centering inside ourselves is so critical, and that it would seem that we're moving away from the global, what again, you and I are really talking about, what do they say, but how do I matter?
And how do I feel? Because I think, again, the Mercury retrograde, the Virgo energy is about saying, has my throat closed up? Are my joints aching? Am I having a headache every day? What's going on within me that's a message to myself? Because you mentioned the communication.
Yes, the message to yourself. Yeah.
It's
That's right.
physical because it's Virgo. I mean, Virgo is very mental and analytical, but it's also physical. And I think that's the gift, especially if anyone's watching and you've had just either non-local anxiety, just sort of free form, or, you just feel sort of stuffed full of, I like to call psychic smog, which is that off-gassing. Or if you just are feeling just not completely well, that may be the Mercury and Virgo speaking within each of us, giving us the symptoms that we need to pay attention to.
Right. I think it's really quite simple. Take the time. Take the time. We want to talk about 8 personalities and from the psychological literature,
Mm-hmm.
but it becomes the S personality, self. I just created a new category.
Yeah.
Take the time for yourself, because in essence, we can't really do anything for anybody else or help anybody else if we don't understand what's going on with us.
And the other thing that's happening today, Ruth, is Venus is squaring Uranus. Uranus is change and liberation, and Venus is what makes us feel comfortable and cozy and silky to our skin. And so there's a little bit of people are not comfortable this week. I mean, we may be growing and we may be getting insights, and being poked and prod with the electric cattle prod, but we're not necessarily enjoying the experience, but it's still growthful. We're trying to find our comfort zone right now.
Well, you and I just talked about when you're fighting the experience.
Yeah.
The discomfort is partly when we want to be right and we literally fight life, because life is flowing to us and through us at all times.
That's right.
But if we say, I want to go left, and your own inner guidance is saying, no, it's time to just sit here momentarily and not go left or right, just be here. But if we're fighting it, yes, it is uncomfortable. For sure.
That's very well put. I think so much that's a message in itself, because we like to give our messages each week. And part of the message is, how are you shooting on you in such a way that it's causing you more pain? And often the answer is, as you've said, it's right there, because life is flowing through us and it's reminding us every moment who we really are in relation to who we are not, which feels really yucky to us when we're trying to push ourselves. A simple example of this is when you're really tired, forcing yourself to work or do something, or when you're feeling inward, forcing yourself to socialize, or when you're full, forcing yourself to eat. These are all Virgo, body analogies. But I think that right now we have to stay on course with the directives of our soul, which may not look anything like the world around us. Let's do our cards before our alarm goes off.
That's right.
Do you want to start with your cards?
Okay.
Okay.
It's very interesting today. I'm using the Aboriginal Spirit Oracles by Mel Brown from Australia. And I got the balance card. And today the moon is in Libra.
Yeah.
Libra is all about harmony, and Libra is all about balance. And the first balance that has to occur, again, is within ourselves. Mind, body, spirit. We have to figure some way to get that balance.
You know what I love about that too is a little note about Jupiter and Libra, and the idea that a lot of people watching this may be people who don't feel like they can be in balance if other people are still out of balance. But so just be aware of your justice needs, and your needs for total equality across the world may not come true just now, but don't hold that over your own head as far as allowing.
Tamara, say that again, because that was so profound. That if I can't have mine, if that is not happening over, say that again.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're waiting for justice and equality to prevail in the world and for the world to outpicture the way you want it to be and everybody to be happy and okay before you get to be okay, you will be waiting and you will be anxious and you will not feel good. So this is to those of you who I know write me. You may not put your comment below under the video, which I would love if you did, but I know that you write me and say, I felt like you were speaking right to me. I'm speaking right to you about that. So I got these are crystal cards, and I'm forgetting I should have the author's name, but Divine Connection.
Oh, that's that's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
Beautiful card.
amethyst. And this is really that what I like about this image is the only way to have that divine connection is to disconnect from stuff out there. I mean, I feel like this is our message each and every week, but it's really about divine connection comes from quiet.
And I want to show you this card. Hold your card up again and look. I also drew a second one. And this is challenge. And if we don't disconnect from out there, our challenges come because we're trying to be out there and in here at the same time. And it's very difficult.
I know there's somebody watching that this speaks directly to you. If you're too out there, remember to be back in. We're going to be talking about that forever. I also got, of course, Child Within, which is rhodochrosite. And this is another wonderful, this is, well.
And that's partly with the Leo, because that the eclipse still reminds us that the child within needs our care. And the only way we can care for our inner child is we have to go in and meet up with our inner child. We might have to play.
Yes. That's part of my blog as well, is how can we play, be self-expressive and creative. There's a picture, I want to share the blog with you. I'll send it to you, because there's a wonderful, they collected images from all over, the best images from the eclipse. And so I borrowed one of their photos, which was from the UK, with little children with paper plates and that they had over their heads that kind of sprayed, looked like little white suns. And then they had the glasses in the middle and they're looking up. And it's just so playful, because if your inner child isn't happy, that little part of you, that the Venus part, the little, the moon child, if she or he is not happy, nothing else matters. And that's a fire card.
That's right. Absolutely.
The Divine Connection's a water card. And I also got, guess what? This is from Cheryl Richardson's self-care cards. I got self-love.
Uh-oh.
That's easy.
Hey, listen to that. And I got the last one called reflection. You gotta reflect.
Yeah. Yes. And not be a reflection of other people's platforms.
Reflect within yourself.
Yes, self-reflect. And I have to read the message on the back of this self-love card, Ruth. It says, you're going to love this because you were talking all about the Virgo energy. Care for your body. Ooh. Self-love and self-acceptance are the ultimate acts of self-care. So you guys watching, I'm watching you watching this.
I want to say that I actually wrote my blog in 2 parts. And the second part is on the 12 houses. I wrote a little mini guide so everybody can go through. If you have your chart, take a look, and I've written out all 12 houses with a little guide to give you some understanding of what might be happening in these months where your eclipse and new moon sits. So,
that sounds really, really good. Tell people where they can find that. They can find that at your website, right?
Yes, please go on my website. You can look under the blog section, and it'll be divided into 2 parts. It was so long, I had to put it in. I put the cosmic marriage between the moon and the sun, and then I divided it and did the little mini guide for the second part.
I love the things you create. You are so generous, and so, I love that you just offer these teachings so that people can really begin to know themselves, because there's so much in the world right now that is unhelpful information that's not teaching us to know ourselves, and is in fact so many decoys and false flags,
That's
basically.
very good, Tamara. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Decoys. Uh-huh.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crap that's sort of like, look at me over here, and it's like, no, that's not my reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. That's not coming from my being that chose this life, that wants to live this life. And I think that's why you and I do this show, is just to kind of share some of those
Right.
reminders.
Absolutely.
Each need reminders right now more than ever, more than ever. So thank you for being you, Ruth.
Well, I'm honored to be able to share with you, and definitely with our viewers. I really appreciate it.
I want to mention too that I still have the radio show on Fridays, 12radio.com, 10 a.m. Pacific. Tomorrow I have a wonderful guest. It's Kelly Whetstone, and she is with me on 12 Listen. She's a teacher on 12 Academy, and she's teaches a lot about, she's called the Queen of Boundaries, and she teaches a lot about the chakra system and how to have good boundaries. And our topic for tomorrow is renewal, because I just feel like a lot of us have felt our nervous system has gone through such a roller coaster this week, that I think we need to talk about ways of renewing ourselves. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
Well, I think, hold that card up again, the one you had with Cheryl, self-love. That says it. That card.
It really does. Renewal. Yeah, just really.
Yeah, that
really
says it.
Being who you need to be and letting yourself be renewed in that. And you know, I'm afraid my alarm, maybe I never said it, but I think we're I think we're at time. So we're going to say goodbye for this week, and this is Tamara and Ruth signing off. We'll see you next week for the show, and have a wonderful and renewed week, everybody.
Absolutely. See ya.